impossible has happened. Unbelievable. No record for human life. Off to the races. Can they catch it?
Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs at the 50. He runs at the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms. Bare-chested. Somebody stop
Look
that
out.
man.
Here comes the blue coat,
Oh,
Kevin.
they got him.
Here
They're
comes the
coming
blue
from the
coats.
left. Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line.
I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love.
And now for our feature presentation.
Balls Deep with Devin Jovan.
Welcome to our Balls Deep Week 7 pick'em for the NFL season. Last week, I went 2-3, bringing my record to 18-12 on the season, and Jovan went 3-2, bringing his record to 14-16 on the season. So he's itching closer to that 500 mark. But let's get into it for Week 7. The first matchup we're going to be talking about is the Steelers versus the Titans. I think this is a great matchup. It was a great matchup prior to last week, and it's a great matchup even now, being that, they're both undefeated, and someone's going to get their first loss this week. But last week, both teams actually took a big blow. The Steelers lost Devin Bush for the season, and the Titans lost Taylor Lewan, which is their left tackle. So things are going to get interesting. And I don't know how either one's going to, resolve those missing pieces, but we're going to see it this week. But who do you have this week in that matchup?
I'm going to have to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers simply because their defense is literally, they have the best defense in the NFL right now, probably by far. And obviously we know that the Tennessee Titans had to go up against a good defense in the Bills, but the Steelers is next level. They have a next level defense. I think Derrick Henry is going to get his, but really the big key for Tennessee is going to be Ryan Tannehill, who's been playing well, but it's going to be tough for him against the Steelers defense, especially like you said, with his left tackle Taylor Lewan being gone now. I feel like I said, Derrick Henry's going to get his, but it's really going to be on whether or not Tannehill is going to be able to get the job done, because against a defense like this, you're going to have to get the passing game going. You're not going to be able to rely as heavily on Derrick Henry against a defense like this, and I just don't think that he's going to be able to get that done against this defense. So ultimately, I think it boils down to really just that, Ryan Tannehill not being the caliber quarterback to be able to get the job done against a team like the Steelers. I would like to see them win. Hopefully, he makes me eat my words, but I just don't think it happens.
Yeah, for me, I'm going with the Steelers as well. I realized, the Titans are 16-0 when Derrick Henry rushes for over 100 yards. But I don't think that's happening this week, honestly. I think, if anything, Ryan Tannehill might be their leading rusher for the week. And the main reason why is because he's going to be on the run all the time. The Steelers are the number one defense in the league. They are leading the league in QB pressures, and it doesn't help that they just lost their best offensive lineman in Taylor Lewan. I don't know how they're going to resolve that offensive line issue, but Tannehill, I feel like, is just going to be on the move, and it's going to, lead to a lot of, turnovers. So I think the key to that matchup is that offensive line. If that offensive line can buy Tannehill some time, or even open up some run lanes for Derrick Henry, I think, they'll come out on top. But for now, I'm going to pick the Steelers for that main reason. But they are getting Adoree Jackson back, which helps them on the defensive end. But the thing is, if they're smart, they'll put Adoree Jackson on Chase Claypool and allow Malcolm Butler to be on Juju. And they better hope Jonathan Joseph is not guarding anybody, because he stinks and he's been getting burnt left and right this season. So hopefully Adoree, can, last throughout the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is a potential. Like you said, 16-0 and Derrick Henry rushes for 100 yards. I honestly don't think he's going to struggle all that much. I mean, he's more than capable of getting his. He's has the highest yards after contact. I mean, We all know what he can do. He's fucking huge. But this could be the first loss that they take with him getting over 100 yards. I don't think that I obviously don't think he has an outstanding week like he's obviously always capable of. But I do think it's more than possible he gets over 100 yards.
I think he might get close to 100 yards. Yeah. I just don't think he gets over 100 yards. The Steelers only have allowed 331 yards in rushing this season, so it's very unlikely. But I think I'm not saying he won't get close to 100. I just don't think he's going to eclipse the 100 yard mark. And with that, we're going to move on to our next matchup of the week, which is the San Francisco 49ers versus the New England Patriots. I'm a little salty with the Patriots from last week, and I'm going to, bring that salt to this pick'em, and I'm going to pick the 49ers. I'm just, feeling petty, and also my girlfriend's a 49ers fan, so I'd rather be cheering with her than rooting against her. We already learned, when I rooted against her with the Giants, I lost. So I'm going to stick with the 49ers this week.
I'm going to go with New England. I think that their defense is going to carry them this game. I think it's going to be very low scoring. But I also look for Cam Newton to kind of bounce back from last week. And also their offense, their running game to get going like they struggled last week. But it's also a pretty big game for New England in general. I mean, they have Cam now sort of as quarterback of the future as of right now. I mean, he has the potential to be. But, I mean, they're facing up against Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, the guy that they got rid of, who almost was seemingly the guy to replace Tom Brady, and they just got rid of him out of nowhere. So, I mean, I feel like it's a huge game for them. It's probably the biggest, something that's going to be talked about all game, about how New England got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. He was the QB of their future. I mean, so it's a game where they kind of need to prove that they're going to be able to win, not only without Tom Brady, but without his replacement being Jimmy Garoppolo. They have to prove that they can win against a team like the 49ers with, a guy like Cam Newton. So I definitely look for the Pats to be able to bounce back. I definitely look for that defense to be able to carry them in a low-scoring game. And I do think Cam Newton's going to have a lot better week than, they had last week. So I think I got the Pats this one.
I think it will be a low-scoring game, but I do expect a big game from Jimmy G because of that. But the main reason why I'm expecting a big game from him is George Kittle. I think he's going to have an insane game today. But now he is just going to be reliant on if Jimmy G could get him the ball, especially in the red zone. So I'm expecting a low-scoring game, but I do expect the 49ers to come out on top. My pick is not just, emotional, but I feel like I have some knowledge in terms of what's going on with both teams, and I think Cam's going to bounce back this week. I just don't think his weapons are going to, support him enough to get enough points on the board. Especially with the 49ers defense, even though they've been dealing with some injury woes, they've actually been playing pretty solid. Their backups or the people taking their place have been playing pretty solid in their place. Jason Verrett is actually looking like his old self now that he's playing the number one corner position with Richard Sherman
healthy.
Yeah, he's finally healthy. So. And then our last matchup of the week is actually the new Sunday Night Football matchup, and I say new because it was Tampa Raiders or Tampa Vegas, I should say, but they moved that because of all the COVID positive tests with the Raiders. So with it potentially being canceled, they brought Seattle, Arizona to Sunday Night Football, which I think is a great matchup. Seattle's 5-0. Arizona's, I believe, 3-2. Or no, 4-2, I should say. They're 4-2. It's a divisional game. It's definitely going to be close. It's between two quarterbacks that have a very similar play style. So who do you have in this matchup?
I got Seattle. I think this is aside from week one, I think this is Arizona's toughest test because Arizona faced San Fran week one. Obviously, it was their healthiest week, although this team, San Fran, has been a shell of himself. But I do got Seattle. I think they're overall the better team. It doesn't seem like – the Arizona Cardinals offense has been a lot better than I kind of anticipated that it would be, especially with the offensive line. I don't know that they're going to be able to do that against the Seattle defense, although it's not the Seattle defense of old. I don't think they're going to be able to get much going. They haven't been able to get DeAndre Hopkins as involved as I thought they'd be able to. Russell Wilson obviously has been playing great football. So I got Seattle winning this.
I'm actually going the opposite direction. I'm going to go with the Cardinals this week. I do think, Seattle's the better team overall. But this week, I think, the Cardinals are just going to get the better end of the stick. Seattle's missing Jamal Adams once again. I think that's going to hurt them in the secondary, especially going up against a receiver core that has Larry Fitzgerald, DeAndre Hopkins, and Christian Kirk. I'm expecting at least DeAndre Hopkins to have a good game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Christian Kirk has a big game as well. They did get Kenyon Drake going last week, and if not, they always have Chase Edmonds, who, has been stepping up. But I think Kyler Murray is going to be, the X factor, and I'm not saying he's going to be the key. I think he's going to have a really good game this week because, as we both know, Seattle hasn't really been able to create that pass rush, and giving him all the time in the world to make the decisions is not, heavily in their favor, especially with him being a mobile quarterback who can create plays with his feet. I think it's going to be a scary sighting for Seattle's defense. But I'm expecting Russell Wilson to, still have a big game. He's Russell Wilson. He's still going to be MVP by the end of the season. He was my MVP selection. So I'm expecting a high-scoring game. But I have, the Cardinals coming out on top. Maybe by a game-winning field goal. Who knows? We'll see.
Then we're going to move into our lock and our upset picks. So we're going to start with the lock. Who do you have for a lock this week?
For a lock, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the first week that, they have Le'Veon Bell in their offense. So that's going to be very interesting to see how they utilize him. There's rumors coming out of camp saying that he's looked very impressive, and I would hope so within that offense. They're going to be missing Sammy Watkins this week. So I'm going to expect, him to take a big role in, the receiving end of their offense. But also they made a switch at center last week, which was they put Daniel Kilgore in at center, and it opened up the run lanes for Clyde Edwards-Helaire against the Bills. I'm expecting that to continue this week with Le'Veon Bell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I think both of them are going to have really good games this week. I think they're going to win on the ground rather than in the air. I think Patrick Mahomes is still going to do Patrick Mahomes things, but I think they're going to rely heavily on the run this week. And they'll be missing Mitchell Schwartz, so I think that's the main reason why they'll be relying more on the run, because they don't want to risk, Patrick Mahomes getting hurt against the Broncos.
Yeah. My lock for this week is the Packers against the Texans. Mostly for obvious reasons. We know how good of a football team that the Packers are. Obviously, they struggled last week against a surprisingly good Buccaneers defense. Because we all know how good that front seven is. But their secondary's been a little suspect, and I thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to tear them up. They proved me wrong. They kept the Packers at 10 points. It was a surprise, but I think the Packers are going to have a big bounce back week against the Texans team, who is fairly talented, but just can't really get things going this season. Obviously, a big reason was their coaching staff, and now that they got rid of them, I think that they'll be a lot better off. But obviously, their team still doesn't stack up to a team like the Packers. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
And it's crazy too, because I picked them to win that division even without DeAndre Hopkins. I just felt like the offense was going to be less predictable. And Watson was going to, was going to see a jump in his play, but it was more so, like you said, the coaching. And as of right now, they just don't have the talent to stack up against anyone else. Look at last week. I picked them for the upset, and they ultimately choked. Yeah,
I mean, they have a very good, talented young team. I think it'll be high scoring. They're always capable of putting up points. And they're a team that always surprises some people when it seems like they play up to competition a lot of the times. So I do think they'll be able to keep it close. I do think they'll be able to put up a good amount of points against this Packers team. But ultimately, I think Aaron Rodgers and that offense is going to be too much. And I think they're going to win it. So that's my lock for the week. And We're gonna move into the upset now. Who do you have for your upset?
I have the Detroit Lions beating the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game because both defenses suck. Just put it like that. And their offenses are both hit or miss. They have the talent to score high, but it just depends on how well they show up each week. And I think Matthew Stafford's gonna have a big game, but the person that I think is gonna have the biggest game is DeAndre Swift. He exploded last week against their opponent. I believe they played the Jaguars. He had his biggest game of the season, and I think that's going to continue this week. The Falcons don't really have someone to guard someone out of the backfield. They have Devin Jovan, but they're one of the worst teams in the league in terms of allowing receiving yards out of the backfield. And I think that's where DeAndre Swift steps in because Adrian Peterson's not catching out of the backfield. So I think that's where he's going to get most of his run. It's going to be a shootout. So I think they're going to, be passing more than they will be running. And I think DeAndre Swift's going to be, the X factor. But just like Isaiah said when I was over your house, shout out Isaiah. He's a Falcons fan, and he said expect Jeffrey Okudah to have a big game this week. And I'm going to run with it. I believe him. I think Jeffrey Okudah is going to have a big game this week. Hopefully they have him on Julio and not Desmond Trufant because, like he said, Desmond Trufant is going to get burnt. So
That's another. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that Devin Jovan is cleared to play yet. Because I know he was kind of questionable throughout the week, even. So even that would then even make it worse for the Lions at that point. But
yeah, I think he's out. But regardless, Okudah is going to be guarding Julio. So if Matt has to force it to Julio like he is known to, Jeffrey Okudah is going to be right there, hopefully, and get some turnovers for that Lions defense.
Yeah, that game's definitely a toss-up. It should be a good one. Definitely think it's going to be a shootout, especially with those defenses. But my upset for the week is going to be the Raiders versus the Bucks. This game could have been a lot differently. Because like you said, it was almost canceled, but then also the Raiders, basically their whole line was on the COVID list. So that would have been terrible for them, especially with that Bucks front seven. But the Raiders have been surprisingly up and down this year. Like I've mentioned many times in previous episodes, I definitely thought they were a lot better team than given credit, and they've proven it. I mean, they've played a lot of good teams very well and beat a lot of good teams this season. I mean, they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Saints, they lost to the Pats, they got blasted by the Pats, but I mean, they're playing a lot of good teams this year. A tough schedule with still, I believe, a 500 record currently at 3-3. And they've just been really surprising me. Derek Carr is looking like a franchise quarterback. He's not looking like his old self when he was, having near MVP seasons, but he's looking really good. They have a good young team. I think they're going to come out and surprise some people. I mean, they're playing good teams really well. They're keeping the games close, and I mean, it's really just a few things here and there that's deciding whether or not they win or lose the game. So I'm going to chance it on them this week and say that they're going to get the upset against the Bucks, especially with the Bucks. I mean, obviously we know how good that defense is. Like I said, they kept Aaron Rodgers to 10 points, but with that offense, kind of Leonard Fournette being hurt, Godwin being in and out, Mike Evans being in and out. I mean, now acquiring AB, but AB not having played with his team yet. I mean, there's so many question marks on.
He's not playing this week.
That's true, because I believe you need 6 days of COVID.
He's suspension to week 8, so I think he'll be eligible next week, if not the week after.
Okay. So with so many questions on that offense, especially, like I said, I look for the Raiders to have a good game defensively. They're going to be relying heavily on, basically Tom Brady to make plays. And I mean, he's been getting bailed out by his defense all season, so we'll have to see.
I mean, I hope he makes plays. I got him in fantasy, and I'm starting him in fantasy. So
that's what I'm saying. With the Bucks offense just kind of being banged up, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, but I think the Raiders' pass rush is very underrated. I think Max Crosby leading, the front. They're actually pretty good, and I think they're only getting better with time. So I can definitely see, them putting pressure on Brady. Brady has been turning over the ball a lot more frequently this season than, seasons past. So for me, I hope that doesn't happen this week. For you, you'll be rooting for it with your pick. I don't know if I forget his name, their tackle that caught COVID and kind of gave it to everybody. I forget his name off the top of my head. I don't know if he's playing, but I know the 4 other starters will be playing. They got they got multiple negative tests in a row. They should be playing this week. So that's going to definitely help Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs in the run game. But like you said, too, that front 7 of the Bucs is pretty serious. So it's going to come down to both defenses and see who makes the more big moves that you can say or significant moves down the road to help their team win the game.
Definitely. And with that being said, that's the end of our pick'em for week 7. Hopefully I have a better week this week. I'm trying to go 500 at least on the season, at least by the end of the season. So I need to cover some ground right now.
I mean, the past 2 weeks I've been doing terrible. I've won 2 and 3 the past 2 weeks. But outside of that, I've been going over 500. We've been going 3 and 2 or 4 and 1. So hopefully I can rebound this week.
There's not a lot of surprises. A lot of games kind of going ways that nobody really expects. So I mean, there's also that. But
so hopefully I can redeem myself from the past 2 weeks. Hopefully you can turn things around as well in terms of just overall season. You've been turning things around past 2 weeks, so kudos to you.
5-0 this week.
You said that last time. So until then, make sure to go check out episode 25. We had a couple of guests on our show to talk about UFC 254, which was yesterday. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys already watched it, if not, I go check it out. And if not, just until next time. We appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Peace.
You're talking about balls deep.
I'm talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep.
My boy's talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love.
Yo, what's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. In other words, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. That's right. Anyhow, I want to give a special shout out to Devin and Jovan. I know you guys have started your podcast, Balls Deep, with Devin and Jovan. I want to congratulate you guys, and I want to tell everybody that's out there that doesn't know about them to you guys follow them, subscribe to them, and you guys make sure to follow them on all your social media platforms, because if you don't, you guys can bend the knee to Triple C.